Morning guys, Mon here. Today we are talking about Kyros, the breaking mage tank. This is a build that I had around for a long time, but I tweaked it here and there and I think it is in a state where I want to show it. I'm very happy with the build, it's a very cool one, but let's take a look at what we are actually doing. So overall we are Kyros, we are an Arcanist spellcaster and we can generate pretty big shields and break enemies quickly. We do have consistent damage with abilities. This is a playstyle I rather enjoy. It is very nice to always just play around with these spells and not care too much about attacking with the weapon, but do anyways for reasons we will talk about later on. But generally, we have a lot of ability power, we have tons of magical defense, we have a lot of break power, but a teeny tiny bit amount of maximum health. The reason for that is that we use all possibilities to generate shields above our health, so that the health isn't really damaged anyways, and most of the damage just flows into the shield and we ignore it for the most part. Then we have a lot of break damage to break enemies quickly, so they are staggered all the time from our abilities, and just don't even try to fight back, which is very nice. But let's take a look at the weapon we are using. I'm running with the Bastion most of the time, or pretty much all of the time, but we're taking a look at the second option in a moment. The Bastion just covers all stats we are looking for. It's just very strong all-rounder, and the ability can be nice if we do need a heal here or there. Though the weapon ability you mostly will not use, so you can branch out into different shields, but I just found the Bastion to have the best overall stats for what we are trying to do. And I mean, if something breaks through your shield, you just press your ability button and just heal up quickly anyways. You can do so with your abilities also. There is different options. Bastion is just a lot of fist defense, a lot of magical defense, a lot of break power and ability power, and some health. It just has everything. So let's take a look at the second option I was looking at, which is the Legacy. The Legacy is the highest magical defense shield in the entire game. With 3.5k at maximum rank, it's just immense. Like, this thing is huge when it comes to power or to magical defense. It does also grant a lot of ability power, and the weapon ability also adds a shield, which just plays into our playstyle very nicely. So Legacy is a cool other option, but has a lot less health and no physical defense at all. Which means that even though you will have bigger shields, physical damage might break it quicker because you just take more damage to a bigger shield, which against magical damage is very good. So if you know you're up against a lot of magical damage for some bosses, for example, Legacy might just be the superior option. But for general playstyle, I do think Bastion just does it a little better with being a great all-rounder. So let's take a look at the abilities. The passive Arcane Fragment is generally just more or less your resource you use to cast, because Savage Rake, the first ability, is your bread and butter skill. You use it all the time, you hit enemies with it, you deal a lot of damage with it, and Savage Rake takes up Arcane Fragments to be cast over and over again. So instead of waiting for the cooldown, you can consume an Arcane Fragment to use Savage Rake. Also, Arcane Fragments do give some buffs here or there and have some synergies with Affinities, but we take a look at those later. Then we have Siphon Radiant. Siphon Radiant is a very big AoE ability that damages enemies and lowers your ability cooldowns. So usually you want to use half your combo, then use Savage Rake, then use Siphon Radiant to get your Savage Rake stacks back and get all the cooldowns down, and then continue with your combo. Arcane Focus is a debuff on enemies, or not exactly a debuff, more so a bomb. It puts a mark on enemies, which stacks up when you hit them, or when the mark lasts for 8 seconds, and then it explodes. Hand of Reckoning just is a very big boom spell that can take a lot of enemies out. For the skill points here, there actually is a lot of variables. For example, you could, instead of 3-3-1-0, you could go 2-2-0-3, to play a more Hand of Reckoning focus build. You could play a 2-2-3-0 build, because Arcane Focus does have some quite good options as well. So there I would advise to play around with the different skill options and just see what fits your playstyle. Generally, I did start to love the 3-3-1-0 playstyle, but generally there's a lot of options here, so try out what fits your playstyle the best. Talking about playstyle, generally in this sword and shield gameplay, what we always want to use is the quick sword and shield combo. I'm explaining this combo in the sword and shield guide I did make quite a bit ago. I will link it down. I won't go over the sword and shield combos in every video, so I'm sorry. I would advise to take a look at that video. I'm explaining it thoroughly there. Then generally, as I said, Savage Rag, your bread and butter skill, it provides damage, shielding, healing, everything you're looking for. Then Siphon Radiant to generate lots of fragments. You gain one for every single enemy hit, and generally you want to clear with Savage Rag, and when you see, okay, there's just 2-3 enemies left, use Siphon Radiant just to get your stacks up before going for the next pack. Head of Wrecking generally can be used whenever it's ready. The cooldown or the ultimate bar is fairly small. You generate a lot of ultimate charges with your spells and just have it up a lot. Just use it whenever you see a big enemy that has to die quickly. So let's talk about combos again. Yeah, it's not really, it's just what I said earlier. There is no really crazy combos in this skill. It's just different spell rotations you get used to and that are pretty much up to what the combat is about right now. So in this section, there isn't a lot that I can cover in this video without going into different videos. So there's no point in that. Take a look at that. I will link it and post it here. So then we've got armor sets. For armor sets, generally you want to take a look at ability power, magical defense, and break damage. There's a lot of good options here, and yeah, just take those where you have the highest stats generally, as always. For the accessories, I am going with the Secrets of the Past sets. It's one of the strongest sets for ability power, magical defense, and break damage, and it's farmable at 35 and 38, with the Amulet of the Silver Codex always being 35 at maximum because it is crafted. This set generally just provides all the stats we are looking for. It does have some dumb stats like weapon power and crit rating, but it's just 2, so it's not too bad, I do think. Generally fairly easy to farm set, and I mean fairly easy to farm set if you have reached the mythics, because I think Maras, the mythic Maras, drops the Seal of Eternity and the Book of Names, so you will have to farm 35 and 38 bosses for it, but it is very much worth it because the set is very, very good. Then let's take a look at echoes. For the attack and defense ones, we're just looking at ability power for the attack damage ones or break damage here, and for the defense ones, you just want magical defense. Pretty much your highest order. Always go for magical defense there. Then for balance echoes, I do actually have quite a bit because we vary here a lot. Here we just take a combination of our main attributes, break damage, magical defense, and ability power. There is some crit rating in here because Lesser Deceiver just is the most broken echo, or one of the most broken echoes in the game. Though I have to say Lesser Deceiver is not anymore available at 43, so you will have to take a lower version of that then, and there might be other good options. Generally, as always, take the best echoes you do have. Yeah, for the cross slots, again, ability power, magical defense, and break damage are our main priorities. It pretty much goes through the entire build. For the rush echoes, this is actually fairly interesting because Equilibrium, always good, especially Sword Shield for blocking and stuff. You just want to have a lot of stamina. I do like it. It's in pretty much every single one of my builds. Then Dread Legion, the best ability power buff, so pretty much a must also. Then for the offensive ones, Teresa just is a no-brainer, very, very good. Astral Zephyr, very strong as well. But we do have two very interesting options here, Atrach and Hollow Lord Vandrel. These two seem kind of odd because we are not really focusing on weapon power, but what is missed here a lot is that Atrach and Hollow Lord Vandrel are extremely good break echoes. Like, even though you are not really dealing a lot of damage with them, these echoes will break pretty much any boss more or less in an instant. Like, there are some mythic bosses on heroic difficulty that won't get broken with one hit, but generally you do need only the Atrach Slam and then 2-3 spells to break most enemies, which is extremely strong. So Atrach and Hollow Lord I can really only recommend. I would not use both, but just one of them. And I decided for the gameplay and the footage use the Atrach because it's much easier to proc. You proc it whenever you want. And while you do have the ability a lot, or the pipes most of the time to use your ability, I don't really use it all that much because it would just be for the echoes. So while Lord Vandal is very good, and actually, I mean, the fact that you don't really use your weapon ability power only makes it better because you just activate it when you need it on the snap. Like you say, okay, now I want to break, I use my ability, I use another ability, and it slams down the break damage. So very, very good echo there, and I can only recommend it. It's very good even in magical damage builds, just for the breaking. Then let's take a look at affinities. Here I'm running 521-15 for ultimate orbs, so that arcane fragments that are consumed boost your ultimate or make your ultimate ready faster. We have vicious rake to deal increased damage per arcane fragment for using them. Then we have vicious protection, which makes us tankier when using arcane fragment. We have infused orbs to gain more arcane fragments when we pick up innovation orbs. And then we have excess orbs, which push our limit to 5. Actually, the limit at some point is 7, and I haven't really found out why, but it is 7 for some reason. I don't know. I'm sorry, I cannot explain this, and I have looked for the answer. Maybe you know it. If you know it, please let me know in the comments, because I haven't found an answer to this, sadly. But generally, this is a very, very good version. You can also go 15, 11, 15, I do believe, which is a very good variant as well. It's pushing your ultimate slightly faster to the ready state and does not use the vicious protection. So you are a little bit squishier, but to have your ultimate up a lot more often, which is another option you can focus on more. Then let's take a look at the talents, which go into a very similar direction. We are running with Overwhelming Arcana, which is whenever you're using an ability, we are getting stronger. This stacks 5 times and is extremely strong to just boost us further and further. Then we have Quickening Innovation, which means that always when we are picking up an innovation orb, we have 20% cooldown reduction on all our skills. Then we have Bountiful Innovation, which says that always when we use an ability, there's a 50% chance to spawn an innovation orb. And then we have Repulsion, which makes us gain a magical shield whenever we are picking up an innovation orb, and Feedback, which gives us a shield whenever we are using an ability. So the cycle of using an ability, spawning innovation orbs, getting arcane fragments, and then gaining a shield off of those, and this is just an infinite cycle. We just spawn the orbs and gain the fragments and then use them again to spawn more and gain more, and always stack our shield up, which is just a very, very nice combat flow. Just feels very, very good. And yeah, that's pretty much what I can say about it. It's just a very, very nice interaction of a lot of skills that work very, very well together and just make for a very, very intuitive and fun playstyle. So this is pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. And yes, if you have any questions or something I have missed, feel free to drop it down in the comments. If there's anything you want to say, let me know, and I say thanks for watching and see you in the next one.